Terms used for your descriptive metadata can be validated against an ontology. Attributes can be created for files and collections that are mapped to Hive ontology terms. Each attribute is created as an AVU in the form metadata attribute name equal hive-URI, metadata attr value is equal to the Hive label you're applying, metadata attr units is IROD user tagging Hive vocabulary term. The Hive URI provides a reference URI for the ontology that defines the meaning of the term. The Hive label is the human readable term, and a tag defining that this is a Hive term is put in the units field. The tags you apply to files and collections can be validated against Hive ontologies. In Chapter 5.12 of the Policy Example Workbook, a validation rule is described. The validation rule executes the following steps. A query is made to find all sub-collections in your home collection. A loop iterates over each sub-collection. A query is made to find all files in the sub-collection. A loop iterates over each file in the sub-collection. A query is made to find all the descriptive metadata for a file that have a units field with the text IROD user tagging Hive vocabulary term. A request is constructed for interacting with the Hive vocabulary server to determine if the Hive URI is valid that is stored in the attribute name field. The return value is checked for compliance with the valid ontology. Metadata that do not conform are listed. The ODM validate ontologies.r validation rule is available for download at LifeLive Zone Home RW More Rules ODM-validate ontologies.r. The rule workflow is shown here. As before, we create an initial home collection, add a % to it so we can search over all sub-collections. We generate a query Q1 which finds all the sub-collections within the home collection. We write out an output line saying this is going to be a validation report. We then loop over all the sub-collections. We select all the files from each sub-collection, loop over the file names. We create an ordered list of the metadata attribute names for that file and that sub-collection, which have a units field set to IROD user tagging Hive vocabulary term. For each of the metadata attributes that are returned, we extract the name. We construct a encoded string with the name that will be sent to the Hive vocabulary server, construct the URL for the Hive vocabulary server, issue the call, retrieve the output from the call. If the output string has data not found exception, then we write out an error message saying that we did not have a valid ontology term. The ODM validate ontologies.r validation term accesses the Hive ontology through a REST service. A request for whether a term exists in an ontology is made, and the Hive service returns the error message data not found exception if the term is not a valid label. An example report output from the ODM validate ontologies.r rule is shown here. It lists metadata validation report. It defines the term that was being looked for, in this case TT888, and tells us whether or not it's part of a valid ontology. Take 7 minutes to complete exercise 62. Compare a metadata attribute on a file with the Hive ontology server. Use the rule LifeLive Zone Home RWMO Rules ODM-validate ontologies.r. Modify the rule to only look at one collection. Add an attribute on one file with metadata attr units equal IROD user tagging Hive vocabulary term. Note that the rule will check the term with the UAT ontology in Hive for particle astrophysics. Please load a paragraph describing your results into the lifetime library in the subcollection class INLS 624 by the end of today's class.